My name is Samantha Quick, and I'm the director of Lutaw, an animated 3D virtual reality film.
My name is Michaela Holland. I am the producer and co-creator of Lutaw, and we are excited to be here today at Games for Change Festival. Thank you so much for attending this session, and we are ecstatic to share a little bit more about our project.
So Lutaw had its world premiere under strange times at the Tribeca Film Festival this spring. It then went on to have a European premiere at ConXR and a run at the Museum of Other Reality, where it was nominated for the Positron Visionary Award. Lutaw is a VR for Good piece. VR for Good is a program that Oculus does, which pairs young up-and-coming filmmakers with nonprofits to create stories for social impact. Flight School provided art direction from Ruby Wang, who is a really, really talented animator or illustrator, and she did all of the concept art for us, which was then animated by Chibot VR, an animation studio in the Philippines.
The Yellow Boat of Hope Foundation began by its founder, Jay Jabanetta, finding out about children in the southern remote islands in the Philippines who had to walk long distances or even swim to get to school. Using the power of social media, Jay created a shift in awareness about this issue in the Philippines, but also started to be able to come together with communities to provide little yellow school boats to help these children get to school. Now the organization has grown to not only provide boats for transportation, but also schools for children to learn in and school supplies.
So part of my work with the VR for Good program was I was actually able to travel to the Philippines to interview the children who are living this reality. And I spent about a week shadowing the kids as they went to school and asking them about their lives, but also just chilling and just getting to know them better. So what I found when I asked these kids about what their hopes and dreams were, their aspirations, whether they wanted to be a lawyer or a hospitality worker, their primary goal and motivation was always to contribute and give back to their community in some way. And there was an incredibly inventive spirit and making do with whatever they had. And I really, really wanted to honor this when I got back to the US to write this story with Michaela.
So a little bit about the story. As a Filipino American, I know that family is a core topic and a core value for Filipinos. And so we really wanted to create a sibling relationship that isn't just necessarily pertaining to the Philippines, but pertains worldwide. Every older sister can be a little bit annoyed by her brother when he's getting in her way. And we wanted to create that sense of spirit between these two. While they love each other, they're not always perfect. And the beauty of it is that Jeremy, our main character, is also a really incredible, inventive, stubborn young girl who works on different mechanisms that she has provided to her on her remote island to help herself try to get to school. We found that in order to make this piece feel and represent the hope and liveliness of these children in the Philippines and what the Yellow Boat provides for them, we wanted to embody a Pixar short. So the piece itself has no dialogue. We use some small sound effects from the characters in order to build their storyline and in order to build their essence. But we wanted to make sure that the piece could be seen by anyone all over the world and still feel that they could relate to these characters. A big part of that was empowering our art director, Ruby Wang, to really go with her imagination. And this was made possible by the fact that Samantha came back from her travels to the Philippines with multiple photos, not only of the children, but of the landscape these children lived in. And from there, Ruby passed the concept art to our incredible animation studio, Chibot VR, for them to create these beautiful 3D renders. Another part of this in-depth research process was we wanted to avoid the fact that we were talking about a third world country by showcasing a project that was staying true to the fact that these communities don't have access to a lot of resources, but we still wanted them to feel like real people who have real lives. And this is in order to avoid themes of poverty porn. And so in order to do that, Ruby took it a step further and did a deeper dig into the research and into the environments that these children and these Filipino communities live in on their islands. This is to make the piece feel authentic as we present it to the audience. But on the back end, something that was really important for both Samantha and I was also to make the piece authentic within the actual production. And so that was a large part of why we took the time and energy to find an animation studio in Manila, Philippines, that could do a virtual reality experience for us. And that's how we found Shebot with their incredible team, Judge Fernandez and DJ Balon. They created the most amazing experience visually. On the audio end, when we started to look at score and sound composition, we actually took animal sounds and ambient noise from the islands that Samantha captured and incorporated that into the sound design. When we looked into score composition, we actually hired a Filipino composer to do our credit scene song, which is really upbeat and a little more modern. And then when we looked to our actual score composition within the piece, Samantha found one of her favorite artists, a Filipino musician called
Freddie Aguilar.
And we used Freddie Aguilar's music as well as traditional Filipino instruments and music in order to embody, again, this sense of really being there, which is important in virtual reality, but also I think important for documentarians and storytellers with a social impact in mind, to not only tell the stories of people, but also empower those exact same people to tell their own stories. And so we were very proud with the amount of time and effort we took into making sure we had hues of Filipino culture, not only within the visuals and the audio that you see in the finished piece, but also behind the scenes in the actual making of the visuals and the audio.
So even though the piece is completed and animation is done and it's had a premiere, we really want to make sure that this piece does offer the nonprofit that it can. And to increase our reach, we're currently looking at more festival and award applications and PR and social media. We're also looking at providing an industrial generator for Caohagan. A lot of the kids there are doing homework in dim rooms or outside. So I know an industrial generator would be a huge boon, not just for the kids doing homework, but also just all the people on the island. We also want to show the kids who helped inspire the story, the finished piece. I am still in touch with all of them online. They ask about it constantly, and I know that it would mean a lot to them if they were able to see the finished product. We're also looking at a 6-DOF port of the piece for LBEs and also potentially Quest users, so that it's just a more immersive experience for anyone who might want to watch. It's already built in 3D, so we're looking at adapting it so that people can actually walk around the set and explore a little bit deeper.
A little bit about Samantha and I as creators. My background is in documentary work. I've had projects that have won awards such as Emmys and Webbies. One of my personal projects, Face to Face, won the Sheffield Doc Fest Alternate Realities program in 2018. And I really am invested in finding ways to tell nonfiction stories as well as social impact stories by blending mediums, blending different ways, including XR, traditional gaming, dance, theater, traditional photography, traditional film, etc. Samantha, do you want to tell them a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so I got started in VR working for Doug Lyman doing VFX for one of the first VR films. My background's actually in animation and VFX and 3D animation and video games as well. I'm a huge gamer. So I'm really, really happy to be showing my work at Games for Change, which I think is incredibly important genre to be creating work in. I then went on to become a documentary VR filmmaker at the New York Times, where I created almost 100 pieces for them, documenting the news. And so I used both of those backgrounds and worlds to sort of inform the direction of Lutaw, which I think brings in both of those experiences in a really fun way.
Feel free to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Lutaw VR. If you are interested in getting in contact with us as creators through email, please feel free to email our project email at floatyellowboat@gmail.com. And if you would like to ask us a question right now, live, Samantha and I will be moving into a breakout room session here on the Games for Change virtual event platform where we will be doing a live 10-minute Q&A session. And we will be taking any questions, any comments, any thoughts that you might have. And we will be transferring here from the main stage over to that breakout session as soon as this part of our presentation is complete. So from Samantha and I, thank you so much for joining us.